So let's jump into yet again another Transformer Slag podcast Patreon listener question. Once again, if you want to be part of the Transformer Slag podcast Patreon, help support the podcast, let us know we're doing a good job in this crazy day-to-day Transformer news world, the #1 Transformer podcast in the world. Patreon.com/Protoman. Check the description below or the pinned comment. What does that get you exactly? What does your patronage get you? Well, it gets you your name in the end credit scroll of every segment moving forward. You also get access to the awesome Transformer Slag podcast Discord, where we have all kinds of cool stuff, new deals we post every single day, Transformer rare download lore, all kinds of stuff, and of course, a awesome group of people to chat with and talk about news that have just broken. Also, depending on your tier, you also will get a little something something in the snail mail, depending on what tier you are in the patronage. And of course, like today, the Patreon listener question. Today's patron comes from one of our Primus tier guys, DF Deep Freeze, and he wants to know, you mentioned on your Saturday live stream that some great Transformer finds you've had at conventions, meetups, and so on. But what is the best Transformer find you've ever had in retail? I know that you aren't a fan of retail and retail prices, especially today, but what were some big scores or big wins? Thanks for all the madness and all the mad knowledge you drop on us, oh radical proto sir. DF Deep Freeze. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of retail prices right now for Transformers, but I guess, you know what? I don't think I've ever told this story. And I wish I still had my old flip phone because I even have like the photo evidence of it. So this had to be, man, this had to be like 2006, 2007. It had to be 2007. And I remember going to a Toys R Us. Yeah, they're still a thing here in Canada, but even back then, in 2007, I went to a Toys R Us and they had a whole bunch of Armada stuff still on shelves at this one Toys R Us. And I was like, man, what's going on? Why is there still Armada stuff here? And it was like a bunch of like the Wave 2 Minicon 3 packs. It was a lone Laserbeak and a Red Alert, I guess we'll call it the Mega class or the Ultra class at the time. I guess it was kind of a Mega class, Red Alert. And I was like, well, why are these still here? And I had all of those at that point. You know, I think all of those, when you really think about it, it was like a 6-year gap since they had come out, and yet they were still lingering in this Toys R Us, and the boxes weren't in the greatest shape, or the card backs. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to scan one, see how much they go for. So I went to one of the little scanning things, and it scanned, forget this, a penny. A penny. All of them, the Red Alerts, the Minicons, the Laserbeak, a penny. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And I obviously scooped them all up. Everything that they had, anything that had an Armada card back, I scooped up there. Whole bunch of Minicons, 2 Laserbeaks, 1 Red Alert. I'm like, I'm just taking this all. And I went to the cash, and the girl, she beeps everything. And then she sees the total was like 8 cents. And she's like, well, I can't sell you this. Well, something's clearly wrong here. She calls the manager because it's like, why is all this stuff 8 cents? And the manager looks at it and he says to me, he's like, well, the only way I'm letting you leave this if you pay $5 a piece, everything. And in Canada, we have a rule where if you scan a product, you either give it to us for the price that the product is, or if it's less than $10, you give it to us for free. And that's kind of like the general, I guess we could call it customer protection rule when it comes to like scanned products and stuff. So I told them that. I'm pretty much, look, you either give this to me, you know, for the 8 cents, or you give it to me for free and your cash register is going to be short 8 cents and you'll have to explain something to your head of office, Jim, you know? And so, you know, and it shows because they're like, yeah, he's right. I gave him the money. And I left, but it shows that they were going to make me pay $5 a piece. Now, granted, I'd still be getting a deal, but it's the precedent. So that was like an amazing find. And then afterwards, when I got back to my car, I thought to myself, well, this is clearly in all of the systems for Toys R Us. So I drove to another Toys R Us. At the time, we only had 3 really in Montreal. There's more now. But I went to another Toys R Us, and they had just 2 more Mini-Con sets. I think it was the Sea Attack, like the Sea Team set, and then it was an extra set of the, yeah, I think it was the Land Military Team. Either way. So I remember I got those ones too, and I had like all of this stuff, and it was just crazy. And I ended up like really curious about this, and I talked to one of my friends who worked at retail at Walmart at the time, and he said what usually happens is certain stores, their UPC code archive, when it expires after a couple years, like you'll have a product, it comes out in 2021, and after like 2-3 years, they retire that UPC code, and it goes into like a form of purgatory where it kind of scans at $1 or 2, or excuse me, it scans at 1 cent or 2 cents. And the only reason why they do that is more that because when you have the programmer, when he looks at the archive, the ones that are 1 cent or 2 cent, they stick out. So they know those are free UPC codes to be used in the future for product. It gets a little complicated, but at the end of the day, it's pretty much when you have really old product, there's a very strong chance that they're going to scan for really cheap. And so what he told me was if you ever go into a Walmart or anything, and granted it's very tough today because usually a Walmart won't sit on product for 2 to 3 years, but if you see something that's 2 to 3 years old that's still sitting at a Walmart, there's a very strong chance that if you go to scan it, it's going to scan for like 2 cents. That's what he says. Usually the golden number there is 2 cents. At this Toys R Us it was a penny for some reason. And the only reason why I say I wish I had my flip phone still, because I remember when I got everything, I took a photo of it all and I shared it with one of my friends, to let other people know in Canada, hey, if you see Armada stuff, it's a penny, So it was pretty crazy. And what did I do with most of that stuff? I remember I gave I got 2 Laserbeaks. I remember I gave the Laserbeak away to someone because someone didn't have one. And then the rest of it, I just brought to conventions and sold at fire sale prices. I obviously didn't ask MSRP. I probably was asking I think it was asking like $5 for a Laserbeak and $5 for the Mini-Cons. And I think maybe Red Alert was 10. I remember the box was really beat up on the Red Alert. But I mean, that was a pretty awesome score. And also, it was a little bit of an educational experience for me too, because I ended up learning how those old UPC codes work. And I have an example of that happened to me. I want to say, and I have actually a photo evidence of this too. It happened to me about, I want to say a year ago, where I went to a Walmart and they still had, I think it was Smashdown from Earthrise. And for some reason, the Smashdowns from Earthrise were scanning for like 2 cents. And it's just because I didn't have a Smashdown from Earthrise to begin with. And, you have those weird UPC code situations where sometimes there's just product that it's so old at that point that the UPC code is in that purgatory and that's it. And then, you could just go scan it and they can't say anything about it. That's one thing I want to just point out to you guys, because when they tried to strong arm me at Toys R Us, and they're like, sorry, sir, you're going to have to pay. And they made up a number right there. Like, they're like, oh, you'll have to pay $5 each then, and it's just like, no. The law says whatever it scans for is what it scans for. I didn't tamper with no UPC code. I didn't hack into your system and mess with anything. That's what it is. That's what it is. And so just keep that in mind too if they try to mess with you with that, because, there's always going to be some manager that's going to try to keep his margins as high as possible, and you're walking away with, at the time, potentially maybe like $50 a product for, for 8 cents or so. But either way, that's kind of just one example of that. I mean, I just remember that being a big thing. I think like my biggest ever purchase ever in retail, I guess we'll call it a big score, was when Energon debuted. I've told this story actually in a panel that I ran where when Energon first came out, I bought the entire first wave of everything except the Black Unicron, because I don't think that was available, but everything else, including the Ultra Magnus and stuff. And I think it came to like $400 Canadian. And I just remember just having like these 2 massive Toys R Us bags, and just at the time, it was insane. Like just walking out of the store with just 2 massive like garbage bag sized bags almost of almost every single Wave 1 Energon figure. Because the hype was real, man. Oh man, look at that Sky Blast. He looks just like Jetfire. Oh my God. Oh. It was oh, well, look at that Inferno. That's like our Classics Inferno. This is before Classics came out. So it was a big deal. I mean, I was hyped for Energon, and then of course the reason why I brought it up in that panel was because the panel was about saving money in retail and how retail stuff goes down. And I just remember getting all that Energon stuff and then literally the following year going to BotCon, and all of that first wave Energon stuff was on the tables, loose, complete for like, man, it had to be like 25% the price. If I was paying like at the time probably $12.99 a deluxe Canadian, you were seeing Hot Shot and Inferno for $5 loose complete, and it blew my mind. Now granted that's American, so okay, so let's say $6.50 Canadian. But, it blew my mind back then, and it kind of made me really reflect and go like, man, like, if you wait a little bit, some of this stuff goes for cheap, especially in the secondary market. And I'm someone that I'm not big on packaging anyways. It has to be a really special character to me if I want to keep packaging and art and stuff. So like if I could get something loose complete without the packaging and it's like a fraction of the price, I'll ditch that cardboard, no problem. Back to the earth you go. But yeah, that's more or less it. Those are probably two nice little stories. I hope that entertained you guys a little bit. Maybe you learned something from it. And again, thank you, DF Deep Freeze, for the Patreon listener question. And if you want to be like DF Deep Freeze and join the patronage, patreon.com/protoman. Check the pinned description or check the comments below and join the show.